episode 121 of Piv's NXT Point of View podcast. My name is Bill Pivots. So this week's episode was highlighted by the Kassius, Ohno, Hideo, Itami match. We have a few more matches, making it 4 in total for the show. So let's get started. The show kicked off with Ember Moon taking on the debuting Lady Tapa. If that sounds familiar, it's because Tapa spent some time in TNA. She's got some size to her, definitely compared to Ember Moon. Tapa clotheslined Moon as soon as the bell rang. Moon came back with a tornado suplex and a dropkick. She then hit the Eclipse and got the win. Ember grabbed the mic after the match saying she wants Asuka at TakeOver Brooklyn. She then rambled on about competition and going down this journey and a bunch of other stuff. Definitely wasn't expecting that for the match. I was expecting Tapa to have more time on offense, building that anticipation for Ember Moon's comeback. But they cut the match into 33% of what it could have been. In about a couple minutes, everything was over. However, it was a much-needed squash match for Ember Moon as they're building her towards being the next challenger for Asuka's title. She needed a dominant victory like that, not a back-and-forth match with Ruby Riott or Peyton Royce, Billie Kay, whoever the competitors are in the division. She needed a dominant win, and that's what it was. However, I think the promo was a little too long. She could have just left it. I want Asuka to take over Brooklyn and be done with it. All this backstory stuff wasn't needed. And Asuka already defeated her. So I don't know what she needs to prove. Asuka, that is. They're trying, but I think with the injuries and stuff, the momentum of this feud has kind of halted. And I think it's passed them by, unfortunately. After the break, we got one of 2 Aleister Black vignettes. Second match, Authors of Pain versus David Ramos and Timothy Bumpers. Greatest jobber name ever. Timothy Bumpers. Love it. As the Authors of Pain were making their way down the ramp, Nikki Cross stood in front of them. Sanity came from the crowd, I guess, and attacked the 2 jobbers from behind, and they stared down the champs. Authors of Pain entered the ring. All 4 men brawled, and Authors of Pain sent the challengers out of the ring and up the ramp in a couple minutes. God, I am not looking forward to this feud. This is how bad the tag team division in NXT has gotten. Sanity, who keeps losing and losing matches, will get a title shot at TakeOver Brooklyn. Unfortunately, they broke up DIY. Unfortunately, the Revival and American Alpha got called up. And unfortunately, TM61 is hurt. And that's where this has led us. And I am not looking forward to it at all. Both teams are heels. Both teams are disliked by me, at least. I'm not a fan of either one, especially their booking. Authors of Pain, I'll give them credit. They've improved greatly. But both teams are one-dimensional at this point, and I am not looking forward to it at all. We got a second Street Profits vignette, and we got a recap of the Andrade Cien Almas and No Way Jose feud. The girl that's with Andrade Cien Almas is now called Selena Vega, and she approached Jose in the parking lot, quote-unquote, earlier today. Third match, Velveteen Dream versus Cesar Bononi, however you want to pronounce his name. Dream was aggressive early. Bononi made a comeback with some right hands, an atomic drop, and a Falcon Arrow for a near fall. Dream countered a power slam, hit a rolling Death Valley driver, and won with his diving elbow. Another squash match. Really don't have anything to say about Dream. I like his stuff in the ring. He's good, but really hate the gimmick. He was then interviewed after the match about his goals in NXT and kind of insulted the audience in the meantime. William Regal was asked about Ember Moon and her challenge towards Asuka. He made the NXT Women's title match official for TakeOver. Drew McIntyre came out for a promo. He thanked the fans for their constant support. He then brought up his Chosen One moniker from years ago, and he said that he needed to be the best and the hardest worker in the room, and he only became the hardest worker in the world. He said that the competition in NXT is why he signed there, and he brought up Bobby Roode, called him entitled, and this is not Roode's NXT, but the fans' NXT. He then started a "We Are NXT" chant before leaving. It was a good rah-rah promo to get the fans behind him. Instead of Bobby Roode. Anytime I've seen that the fans, or that someone mentions that this is the fans' NXT, it's the NXT Universe's show, they'll get behind you 100%. They'll get on board. And that's exactly what happened here. The match itself should be good, but with some of Bobby Roode's previous opponents, he doesn't have the best chemistry with everyone. So we'll see how this goes. Maybe someone his size will have a better match. We got the second Aleister Black vignette. And we got word that Johnny Gargano will compete next week. His opponent, Raul Mendoza, cut a promo on Johnny in the backstage area. That led us to our main event, Hideo Itami versus Kassius Ohno. There was a little bit no-selling early. Each man was landing some chops and punches and wasn't going anywhere. Ohno connected a basement dropkick and a standing boot to the face. Hideo hit 3 kicks and a guillotine leg drop, leading to the first commercial break. Throughout the match, Hideo was a little more tactical and particular with his attacks, picking his spots. He landed a lot of kicks to the chest. Morrow said that Asuka will address Ember Moon next week. Hideo hit a tornado neck snap over the top rope. Ohno countered a dive from the top with some chops. He connected with a Shining Wizard and Cyclone Boot for his own near fall. Hideo hit a Fisherman Suplex and the hesitation dropkick in the corner. Ohno countered the GTS and he caught him with the big boot. He went for the discus elbow, but Hideo blatantly kicked Ohno in the nuts in front of the ref and got the DQ, making Ohno the winner here. He then pummeled Ohno in the corner, hit 2 GTSs, left the ring, came back, and he slammed Kassius Ohno face first onto the steps. The crowd was against Hideo the whole time, ever since the DQ, at least, just booing him. Not a fan of it. Well, the fans weren't. But it was a successful heel turn, officially, for Hideo Itami. He needed a character change greatly. It was kind of difficult to get him to get behind him, constantly losing, constantly getting injured. Considering the success Nakamura had, you would think he would be able to replace him. He hasn't been, and I think NXT definitely needed a second heel behind Bobby Roode, and Hideo Itami is filling that spot perfectly so far. So it was definitely needed, both for the character and the show. As for the match, it was actually pretty good. I liked their back and forth. Some of the big hits that Ohno landed, his big boots are pretty vicious, and Hideo, same thing with his kicks. So it was pretty good. But obviously this wasn't going to be the full match. We're probably going to get that at TakeOver Brooklyn. This was just another spoke in the wheel leading towards that match in a few weeks. Overall, another decent show. That seems to be the best thing I could say about NXT right now. A lot of the characters that they're showing are ones that I'm not interested in, like Velveteen, Authors of Pain, Sanity. So it's kind of hard to get invested into the show when a lot of your favorites are either not there or on the main roster, or just they haven't developed any yet. So I'm enjoying the shows for what they are, but I'm not as excited about NXT as I was, let's say, a year ago. And unfortunately, I will not be attending TakeOver Brooklyn this year. Partly for that reason. The last 2 years were great. First year, amazing, obviously. But I've just seen a change in NXT, and I don't think the card will live up to the expectations I've had for the last 2 Brooklyn shows. So I'll be watching it at home. But next week, we have the return of Johnny Gargano in action, and Asuka will address Ember Moon. So, if you don't mind, follow me on Twitter at bpiv_sports, and like, comment, subscribe to the show on YouTube. And I'll try to be back next week with episode 122 as we get closer towards TakeOver Brooklyn. Alright, peace.